How y'all doing? That was interesting. That was drama. That was intrigue. That was probably the closest thing the Raptors have to a rivalry, and it shows. And the storylines do write themselves, don't they? Will Barton gets waived from the Washington Wizards. I absolutely trashed that signing. He looks great tonight. His defense was on point. Doesn't do too much. He has a lot of passing. He has a little bit of that point forward skill set. I really liked it. I really, um, yeah. I mean, I thought it was a big nothing burger, but he has been a lot better than Juancho in just, 2 games. Nice to see him get some consistent minutes. It was great. Nice to see Gary Trent Jr. We're going to start with the positives, work our way back to the negatives. Big win, though. Very important. It was a must win, and the Raptors get it. Let's sticking with the positives. How can we talk about positives without talking about Gary Trent Jr.? Elite shot making. Gary Trent Jr. did for the Raptors what Bradley Beal was supposed to do for the Washington Wizards. Shot making, elite shot making. That fadeaway over Kristaps Porzingis, man, if you have played basketball, you know that that is something really tough. In the first half, I believe around when he had 9 points, someone released a tweet that said the Raptors cannot afford to lose Gary Trent Jr. this offseason. And I wanted to sort of say, like, come on, but I'm coming around to it. I understand it. I get it. That level of shot making is what the NBA is built on. That's what 116 offensive ratings are built on, is guys who can do that. Showed up. He showed up. He bounced back. Everyone has bad games. It's how do you respond to your bad games? How do you follow up a bad game with another bad game? That's the positives. Gary Trent Jr. Was a positive. Will Barton was a positive. I'm struggling to find more positives for this team. Fred VanVleet's defense, specifically help defense on Bradley Beal, was good. It was on point. There's that old Russell Westbrook presser. Do you remember it? Where a reporter goes into the locker room and says, "Did you guys win this game or did they lose this game?" And Russell Westbrook goes, "Huh, bro, what?" I think that's real. Sometimes a team can absolutely shoot itself in the foot, go away from something that's working. There's so many weird decisions for the Raptors tonight, and let's talk about them. For starters, DeLon Wright played really well. You got to feel happy for him. This is a storyline. Apparently, this is where we're at. We're not talking Fred VanVleet versus Chris Paul. We're not talking Fred VanVleet versus Dame Lillard. That's the conversation he wants to have. The conversation I want to have is Fred VanVleet versus DeLon Wright. Talking about a guy being a pure point guard. I really liked what DeLon Wright did tonight. It's something that I was hoping Fred VanVleet would do a little bit more of. I think he played about as good a first half as I've seen from him in months. He played really well in the first half. I liked it. It didn't feel forced. Everything felt within the rhythm of the game. I like what JJ Redick said about Nikola Jokic, which is that he doesn't force anything. He doesn't press. He doesn't push the game. He lets the game come to him. And I think that the Raptors, when they let the game come to them, when they don't go into the hero ball mode, it goes well for them. This is a pretty talented team, and they have a hell of a lot of, weapons on defense that can neutralize and disrupt other teams. And I think when they're playing to their strengths, they can be really good, even on the road. Pascal Siakam. Oh man. I see the 4 steals. I like the 4 steals. But my God, there are some people who are not built for bright lights. I'm going to talk about it. Talked about it 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, 8 months ago. Keep talking about it until somebody hears it. Some guys look shook when things get put up a level. When did things get put up a level? I think it was that. I think I can't exactly tell you where it started, but I can tell you where it escalated, and that was that Kristaps Porzingis dunk, where he hung on the rim and shook it a little bit just to let people know that he was there. And he gave Fred VanVleet that look, and Raptor fans who have been Raptor fans for a while are very familiar with the phrase, don't poke the bear, don't poke the bear. Well, the bear is in Miami, unfortunately. The other bear is, well, we're going to talk about Scottie Barnes at some point for sure in this wrap up here. But I looked at that and I was like, ugh, I don't know about that, Fred. I don't know if you want to be talking to Kristaps Porzingis right now. And what happened for the next 3 minutes and 50 seconds or so was exactly what I expected to happen, which is the Wizards came back as the Raptors choked away the lead, choked away an opportunity, ended up going on to overtime. And really, overtime on the road, that's your odds are never in your favor. You never want to be in overtime in that situation. Pascal Siakam didn't know it didn't look like he knew what planet he was on tonight in to close it out, right? It really didn't. He was turning the ball over, driving, expecting calls. Fred VanVleet, sort of the same thing. Really sputtered down the stretch. You're very lucky your defense really held up. Scottie Barnes, his offense, his role in this team, decision making, some of those turnovers, the mid-range shot, I didn't like a lot of what Scottie did tonight. But his defense, man, his defense was crazy. DeLon Wright, Bradley Beal, Kristaps Porzingis. Name me 4 guys in the league who can guard all 3 of those guys and suffocate them the way that Scottie Barnes did. I really liked what Scottie did on defense to close. But why the hell do you bring a guy in with 52 seconds left in the fourth quarter in a close game that you're intending to win? You almost feel like you are setting somebody up for failure because you do not want to answer the press release. You don't want to answer the news reports tomorrow that Scottie got benched. Well, look, I understand that you need Trent Jr. on the court, and I understand that Jakob Poeltl is a hell of a player, and both of these guys are going strong for you. And I understand that Fred, Pascal, and OG are pretty non-negotiable in terms of closing minutes. So if Scottie's got to sit on the bench, then Scottie's got to sit on the bench. If you feel like that's the right decision, I do not agree with bringing a guy in with 52 seconds. I understand his shift. You might say he sat on the sidelines for a bit. It was still going to be 2 minutes. It takes a little while for a guy. You don't want to be making substitutions at 52 seconds. At all, ever. It's setting a player up for failure. It is setting a player up for injuries, man. I'm just being straight up. The intensity of that game is not for someone who has been sitting for 15 minutes. You could see him jumping, like he's jumping up and down just to get his legs into it. It's not right to put a player in that situation. I understand that you want him on the court. Fine. Put him in earlier. You want the right move? You want the right move? The right move would have been to bench Pascal Siakam. But you're not going to do that. That's your franchise player. You don't want to answer those questions. Then the second right move would be to bench OG Anunoby if you feel, but that wouldn't have been the right move either. Yeah, he's having a tough shooting night, and Scottie had a better shooting night. Okay, but you need the spacing. Well, okay, then bench Jakob Poeltl but do it earlier. Don't do it here. I feel bad for Jakob Poeltl sitting there because if you're going to force Scottie Barnes to be Jakob Poeltl in your offense, I got to be honest with you. Jakob Poeltl is better at being Jakob Poeltl than Scottie Barnes is. Can we be real about that? But if you're gonna play to Scottie's advantages as a player, as a playmaker, he's shown you plenty of evidence over the last year and a half that you can play that way through him. But you gotta play through him. People have to put their egos aside and say, okay, it's going to be bumpy sometimes. It's not always going to be perfect. But who is it perfect with? Is it perfect with Siakam fumbling the ball, praying for refs to call jump balls, falling to the ground, flailing, missing everything? That pass that he made to Fred VanVleet that was credited as a great assist, are you crazy? It was a wide open play and he bounced it. You never bounce that ball. I don't know if you guys play basketball, but you don't bounce that ball. It's so stupid. It's so clear that he didn't know where he was. He spotted Fred out of the corner of his eye. He saw him last second. He threw the ball. Fred makes the shot. Do you know what the percentage is for NBA players on open corner threes? Go Google it. For a reasonable 3-point shooter, you should be hitting those shots. That is a if you don't hit that shot, you should be benched. Like that high leverage moment, you have to hit that shot. So he hit 2 wide open shots off the ball. Kudos. This is the role we have been calling for Fred VanVleet for I have been calling for Fred VanVleet to play off the ball for what feels like 2 years. And that's where he thrives. He seems to think otherwise, but this is where he thrives. And you saw it tonight. Hitting open shots off of creation from somebody else, being a help defender. Okay. Overall, the Raptors close out. The Wizards do not. Man, if this was a Wizard podcast, I would go in on Bradley Beal right now. After I said that he was a really gifted scorer, look, I understand the Raptors defense is hella good at stopping stars, but Bradley Beal did not help the Wizards tonight. He overheld the ball. He over-dribbled. He really could have gone to Porzingis. They had no answer for Porzingis, man. Porzingis got whatever the hell he wanted tonight. Post-ups. He was going over. Siakam had a really positive possession on him a couple times. They forced a turnover, but man, it was a lot of scrambling. If they wanted to, they could have gone through Kuzma, DeLon Wright. I mean, Bradley Beal could have done a lot of what I've been asking Fred VanVleet to do. Just let the game come to him. I understand that he's a hell of a talent, but he did not help his team tonight. It was not great. The bench showed up. I think, Chris Boucher, his energy was good. Hits a 3 again. Jakob Poeltl, again, like not off the bench, but like, man, something is up with this guy. Where is this free throw shooting been his whole career? He seems to be hitting everything. The Raptors have 6 starters. I understand someone's going to have to be on the bench based on matchups. But you got Kristaps Porzingis on the other side. You got Daniel Gafford. How is Jakob Poeltl the guy that goes to the bench? I don't understand it necessarily, unless it's politics. Let's just take a quick look at the stats, man. If you thought giving up the percentages they gave up last game was bad, just take a look at this. I mean, incredible, right? Give up 58.3% from 3, 50.7% from the field. Again, giving up over 50% from the field. But 58% from 3, man, that is hard to do. That's hard to do on purpose. Just an incredible display of terrible defense, leaving corners open, leaving shooters open. Corey Kispert just giving them all sorts of trouble. Pascal Siakam, do or die, season on the line, 10th place on the line, but, leave it to Pascal Siakam to be exactly, mentally a role player, right? 15 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, Negative while on the court, not surprising. Scottie Barnes, 12 points, 6 assists. Again, plus minus game to game, not that relevant, but plus 15, right? He and Precious Achiuwa. That specific lineup, that super long boys lineup, I believe it was in the second quarter, it really worked. It worked. It was at the end of the first, I think it was the start the second. And I just consistently noted this trend of Scottie and the bench starting second units. Like him, Precious, Boucher, that lineup of movement, it was good. It was good. Thaddeus Young, 6 minutes. I'm just not a fan of bringing these guys in for 5-6 minutes unless it's like a specialist. And I feel like Thaddeus Young is not a specialist. So personally, I don't really get it. But, if you're going to play a guy, I feel guys need rhythm to be successful. One guy who had the rhythm, 26 points off the bench, 11 for 18 shooting, Gary Trent Jr. tonight. That was great. But really, I mean, I'm talking Will Barton's so amazing, and he has, 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist. But, man, you had to watch it. You had to watch it. There was, like, back-to-back great defensive plays where he's either forcing a collapse or he's guiding his man to help, or he's, contesting a shot really late and forcing a miss. I really liked what I saw from him. You know, like when we looked at the Will Barton preview to begin the year, I mean, those defensive analytics do not reflect the player that I saw tonight. Is this a personal thing? Is this a one-off because he just knows the team? You know, there was a specific play. I don't know if you guys caught it where he and Kuzma was going back, 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 back. I'm surprised the rest didn't call a foul on that, to be honest, or call a text on those two because they were going like they were shoving each other. It was like personal, and whether it was all in fun or not, it was interesting that Kuzma coughed the ball up like literally 12, like 2 seconds later, like right after that. That mental edge is important in basketball. I think disruption is important. It's good. It's very important for a team that expects to win to be able to disrupt what the other team wants to do. I think OG, Scottie, Will Barton, I think they did a really good job. I think Siakam in parts was a good defender tonight. In parts was also a pylon. Fred VanVleet, point of attack defense. Oh my God. Oh my God. You know, these guys on TV, Jack, Matt, all these guys, they're crediting Fred VanVleet for the strips and the heavy hands, and I get all of that. But the amount of blow-bys this guy gives, last game, there was a second quarter stretch of about 2 minutes where he was basically a pylon. And I'm considering making a low light film of it because it's bad. It's so aggressively bad. It's something this team's going to have to address. He hasn't been a defensive liability other than on specific switches in the post in the past. But man, it's starting to get like you're going to have your whole team foul out trying to help this guy. And foul trouble has been a really big thing for Jakob Poeltl in games that he's played with Fred VanVleet. He picked up 2 early ones today. Pascal picks up 2 early ones. OG picks up 2 early ones. Really go and slow that game down and see where the breakdowns are happening. Again, just because you stop the team does not mean that the guy who was involved in that play did not require. If you look at it from a very simple point, Bradley Beal gets past Fred VanVleet, boom, and if Fred VanVleet is not tall enough, long enough to trail that play and contest from behind, like a Matisse Thybulle or a Scottie Barnes or a OG Anunoby, these guys recover really well. If he's not tall enough to do that and your defensive communication is not good enough, then he's just out of that play once Bradley Beal gets out. And so now he's trailing from behind, but he can't do much from behind other than if that guy stops and he can strip. And now he's going straight into Jakob Poeltl. Now, if he puts it up over Jakob Poeltl and Poeltl picks up a foul, I think that's supposed to be sort of on Fred a little bit to give a little bit more resistance, to give Jakob a little bit more time to get there. Help is always going to be a part of NBA defenses. There's very few players in this league who can stop anyone one-on-one. The guys are just too good. And, screen setting, it's just creating a cascade of help, 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 help the helper, help the helper. But you gotta be able to guide a guy into the spot that you need him to be at. You can't be a pylon. And I see Fred and Pascal do this way too often. So, yeah. Look, in close, what is this show about? It's complicated. I have complicated feelings about this team, right? On the one hand, I'm watching, 1.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I'm watching Fred and Pascal pound the ball. I'm watching, Jakob Poeltl come up and set a pick for him. I'm watching, Pascal drive into the paint, kick it out to Fred, clank, front rim. And I'm watching Scottie Barnes sitting on the sideline, and I'm just like, what am I watching here? It's clear to me that you've mortgaged a lot of your future, 2024 pick, 2023 second runner, 2025 second runner. I get it. You mortgaged a lot of that for Jakob Poeltl. But it dawned on me as I was watching the offense that all 5 of those players are eligible for contract extensions this offseason. At some point, this team is going to have to suspend their ego. And it's not just the players. It's Nick Nurse. Nick Nurse is going to have to suspend his ego too. Maybe Masai Ujiri is going to have to suspend his ego. Maybe we're all going to have to suspend our ego and just be a little bit more committed to winning than everything else that comes with winning. The money, the prize, the glory. Just make the simple fucking play. Too often, there's one player who's consistently, 2 players really consistently who are making the right reads all the time. Okay? And that's Jakob and Scottie. Okay? Those guys, they make the right play all the freaking time. It's okay. that's not entirely fair. I mean, they make mistakes, of course. There's shots that Scottie took tonight, the mid range, fadeaway, whatever. I wish he would not take, but it's usually because there's really nothing else. They're not forcing it. They're not freezing out teammates in order to hunt their shots. They're not stat padding. They are playing the right way. They're just not perfect basketball players. No one is. Very few players are, and these two are not it. But if you're gonna help this core, look, I've seen Pascal Siakam in the bright lights. It's not going to work. I'll tell you right now, it's not going to work. I'll tell you last year it wasn't going to work. It's not going to work. The only way this is ever going to work is if Scottie Barnes takes a monumental leap forward. You can tell me I'm crazy. I don't really care. That's just what it is. Okay? There aren't a lot of guys who are built for those moments. He is. He will be. And you know what? Even if he's not ready for it this playoffs, at some point down the line, you're going to wish that you got him those reps right now. Okay? There have been times this year where he's been asked to close out games when other guys didn't have it going. I wish that was put on him tonight. And look, some people might say, well, why can't he just do it? Why can't look? An NBA offense does not create equal opportunities for every single person. Every single person who took a shot tonight did not get an equal opportunity to create or make that shot. Some guys have to generate their own opportunities. Some guys have literally an entire offense that is designed to try to get them open and to get them the best possible looks. Some guys are basically having to scramble with 2 seconds left on the clock as, a fake star is trying to generate a shot and then can't, and then last minute throws it out. All shot attempts are not equal. All opportunities are not equal. And there are some guys who just have to deal with the scraps. And personally, I just think that from what I have seen of Scottie over the last year and a half to 2 years, in the NBA, and prior to that, I think that the evolution of him should be as a playmaker. And by playmaking, I don't mean just passing. I mean scoring as well. There were times tonight where he had Bradley Beal, and look, it's a two-part problem. Number one, he's not doing it. He's not going into the post, and he's not taking Bradley Beal into the post, partially because the roster is constructed in a certain way where he really can't do that now, or can he? Right? He really can't do that because Jakob Poeltl is splashing in the paint. So he has to flare out to the wing, even though he has a completely favorable matchup. But there's no chance in hell that a weak defender who is 6 inches shorter than him, like Bradley Beal, could stop him in the post. And, earlier in the year, he probably would go and hunt that mismatch. Last year, he would have hunted that mismatch in the post. In fact, he did. I think the Raptors' first game of the season was against the Washington Wizards last year. But the problem is that now he's coming out to the corner, and that offensive possession, which could have ended in Scottie Barnes takes Bradley Beal down low, forces the double team, and kicks out to a shooter, is resulting with a Precious Achiuwa 3 or a Chris Boucher 3. And it's a little bit twisted. This team has to get its priorities straight. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Other than that, really good win. Look, you needed this one. You have the hardest schedule coming up. Denver 2 times. You got Boston. You got Milwaukee. There are some damn hard teams, and there are not teams that have guys like Bradley Beal and Kyle Kuzma who are going to shoot themselves and get the yips late. Okay, they have guys like real guys who are real stars that are going to make guys like Pascal Siakam look even more timid. And look, I mean, maybe this game should count for a lot more because the Wizards were playing for something. They're playing for their, let's call it, play-in lives, right? That's kind of what the Raptors are playing for. And if this game had playoff intensity, I mean, I think that was a little bit overblown personally, but yeah, I mean, there was something on the line here. There was something personal. This is a team directly behind you. They got to get the tiebreaker, et cetera, et cetera. So there was a storyline, and you were on the road. So in that case, gutsy win. You definitely needed Gary Trent Jr. to do what he did for you tonight. You definitely needed Bradley Beal to do what he did for the Wizards, for sure. And, the Raptors escaped Washington. Good win. Now, you got 122 comments, and I haven't read a single one of them, so I apologize if there was a super chat somewhere in there. I will get to those. But first, let us get to some callers. We have Nathaniel, Tonious, and we have Mario. Okay, first up, Nathaniel. What's up, man?
Hey, Rob.
How you doing?
Hey, man. I'm doing good. How are you doing, man? You seem a little down. For a win. No,
I'm
no.
not down.
No. I definitely agree with the tone that you. I'm trying to explain. For the beginning of the video, I definitely agree with what you were saying. for
Hmm.
sure. I have a couple of silver linings. Maybe I can help you check into Raptors rehab because we're both addicted to the Raptors, right? Maybe we can check in together here. Uh, I think some positives were some really nice passing. Maybe Scottie Barnes in the post with DeLon was pretty cool. I
Hmm.
liked I liked OG's bully ball against Danny was great.
Right.
Um, Not guarding Danny at the 3 point line, that was good. Good help defense on not guarding the non shooter. I thought.
Um,
Um,
that was good. I do want to say that one thing that I forgot to mention is Denny Avdia going out.
right, right,
It does really help
right.
the
Agreed.
offense,
I
right?
agree. I
Like
agree.
he was god awful offensively in the first
Right,
half, and clearly, you know, now we find out he was sick, he had a stomach flu, whatever, he wasn't feeling right. But man,
right,
that guy defensively is
right.
something else. Like
Absolutely.
he doesn't have the name of OG Anunoby or Scotty Barnes or whatever, but he does a lot of what those guys do, and he's really damn good. So you know,
Agreed.
defensively, like you know, some of the shots that you know the Raptors were able to generate, I think they would have been a little bit harder with him in place. But you
Hmm.
know, maybe it balanced out. Maybe Kispert gave him more
Yeah.
scoring or whatever. But yeah.
Right. I mean, they didn't have Morris and Danny went out. I'm not sure when he went out,
Hmm.
but don't laugh. But we didn't have Otto Porter, and not that it balances out, but you could, I don't know, maybe say Danny and Porter have equal value, and then Morris is maybe the negative factor there. I don't
Sure,
know. Um, I do have a bunch of negatives. I was pretty excited that we got the dub. I feel like it was a must win.
it
Uh,
was.
I'm a little more excited than maybe I should be for a win against the Wizards when they didn't have two of their better players. But I'm hoping this can really spiral us into a winning streak. Go on a late season run. I know it's not probably likely. I'd say the percentage of that happening is maybe 35%, 45% of us going on a run. I don't know what the run
Hmm.
would be, but I thought Fred's ISOing was really so fucking annoying. I was just slapping myself in the face just looking at whenever there was an ISO possession. I was really annoyed. The pressing up on shooters was annoying. DeLon made me eat my words with his 3 point
Yeah,
shooting. Like
he's good. He's good.
I
He's a
didn't
good
expect
shooter.
that. Like wow, we couldn't stop. We couldn't stop Kristaps Porzingis. That's kind of a
Hmm.
surprise. I thought Pirtle had some good possessions on him, though not
Right.
really his his forte. He
Hmm.
did a couple. He had a couple good switches on Bradley Beal. I think he got burned as well, but I
Right.
think maybe we could explore a little bit of Pirtle switching a little more often.
Hmm.
I don't know. Am I too excited? Like I assume
Um.
I am. I'm a little. Am I a little
Yeah,
too hype?
probably.
Yeah,
You're
that's
probably a
fair.
little bit too excited. Do you know
Yeah,
what DeLon Wright shoots from three? Just curious.
I believe the last time I checked, which was 3 days ago, was around 33%.
Nope.
No,
Nope.
what is
You
it?
are
30.
definitely incorrect on that, friend.
Oh no, I
Uh,
forgot. My bad.
he shoots 36.4%.
Wow. Wow. I misread that. Wow. That's tough. Wow.
You want to guess what Fred VanVleet shoots from three?
Uh, 33? 34.
37. Sorry, 33.6%. So really, the
That's
guy
tough.
who, you know, that's interesting, right? I mean,
Right. That is interesting.
reputationally, Fred is the 3 point sniper, and DeLon
Right.
is the guy who can't shoot. Um, Let it be known that anchoring bias is real. DeLon came in as a guy with a shaky jump shot, but he has made a career of it, man. Like he's a career 35% guy now.
Hmm.
So he's come a long
Yeah.
way.
He's great. I loved him with the bench mob. Good for him. I don't know. I wasn't a huge DeLon fan, but if the Raptors could have kept him, I felt like he would have come great off our bench right now. I mean,
Yeah.
our bench looked great with Scotty plus the bench unit. That was terrific. I like that. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Oh, I think it was OG and someone else with the bench, but that looked great too.
Yeah.
Will Barton. Sometimes when you have a good game, you can see it on the stat sheet, and sometimes you
Right.
look at the stat sheet and you're like, "Oh, this guy had a terrible game." But if you watch the game, he had a great game. Will
Yeah.
Barton, OG had a great defensive game. Um, I don't know. I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty
Okay.
excited.
Well,
Um,
we'll talk next game and see if the excitement continues against the Denver Nuggets. I
I hope.
expect you. I mean, look,
I'm
you
gonna
were
be
the same
pissed. I
person.
just know it.
You were the same person who said that you wanted therapy last game, right? Same person.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I got
So
too
yeah,
low and now I'm too high.
yeah. So take a lesson from Tim Duncan and Kawhi and Scotty. Don't get too low or too high in life. It's good to be stoic and somewhat find some sort of middle line or baseline to. You can get higher and lower gradually, right?
Yeah.
You can let it build up, but it's good to not overreact to So like last game, it wasn't like saying,
Right.
"Oh my God, we need to trade Gary," and today
That's true.
I'm not saying max him out.
That's true.
But when something does hold up over, 10, 12, 15 games in a row and it becomes a trend and it's like
Right.
Siakam shitting the bed when intensity goes up in a game is pretty much a
Hmm.
trend. I've rarely ever, if ever, seen him step up in those moments. So yeah,
He's
to
a
me,
number
this
two.
is like a 4 year freaking trend line. Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Scotty should be the number one. And
Well, I don't know about that, but
I mean,
maybe
eventually,
this may yeah, eventually for sure.
you know what
But
I
I mean,
mean?
like, I don't think you need to look. You need People need a reality check. There are no superstars here. There's no superstar
Right.
on this team. There's an ascending superstar, an aspiring superstar. There's a I wish I was a superstar, but I'm not a superstar. There's a guy who thinks he's a superstar. He wants to be paid like a superstar. There's a lot of superstar wannabes, but there's no
Right.
actual superstar on this team. So there's nobody who warrants Luka Doncic level. Okay, this moment is my moment. No, you
Right.
got to look for the shot. So if Pascal Siakam has Denny Avdija on him and Scottie Barnes has Bradley Beal, fuck your ego.
Hmm.
Scottie Barnes on Bradley Beal is a way better matchup for you, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
Nobody on this team. It's different when it's Luka. It's different when it's Tatum. It's different when it's those guys because it's like those guys. It's like it doesn't matter who's on them.
Right.
It really doesn't. They'll make the
Right.
right play. If it's Michael Jordan, if it's if it's Magic, like that's a different story.
Hmm.
This isn't those guys. But every team has a guy who thinks he's those guys, right? Like the
Right.
Pistons, they probably think Cade is one of those guys, right? Or
Hmm.
will become one of those guys. Maybe for the Houston Rockets, they think Jalen Green's going to become one of those guys. Very few players ever become those guys. That's why those guys are those guys. So I don't necessarily see it. And I think, Scotty has a lot of upside and potential, but he needs to be better. And honestly, he is okay. This is a stat that someone flashed for me a couple of days ago. It was kind of alarming.
Hmm.
Of the five worst mid-range jump shooters in the league, Scottie Barnes is one of them. He's 28% from
Right.
mid-range, something along those lines. It was I flashed it on Instagram. That's pretty
Yep.
bad. So for him to be taking
Yeah.
mid-range shots, like the whole premise, like he needs to take threes and like he needs to simplify it.
Right.
Mid-range shots will come later, and he
Right.
has an off season to work on them. He has 6 off seasons worth of development to do over the next 6 years, and he will
Right.
get there because he works
For
entirely too
sure.
hard for him to not get there. But you're not like superstars should take mid-range shots, and pretty much everybody else should take them when they're wide open. Now I get it;
Hmm.
he was open, and he needs to make them. Like these are simple shots. He just needs to make them. Um,
Okay.
I think he needs to be better, man. He needs to be better.
Yeah.
He didn't have
I,
a bad game. He didn't have a great
right.
game. I think some of the
Mid.
turnovers were like they were bad. Like the
Right.
behind the back like
Stuff.
I appreciate it because your team's on a run and there's momentum and it's like you make that play,
Right.
it's like it's great. But man, if you don't make that play, like you give up momentum too, right? Like it's a
Right.
high leverage play. It's like a guy going off the backboard, like or a guy doing
Hmm.
360 on a fast break. Like you better be 1000% that you make that,
Right.
and he didn't. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I
He's
get I
young.
get where his mind is on it. I get what he was trying to do, but maybe
Right.
maybe not do that. I mean,
Yeah.
like
I
last
mean,
year it was a lot of looking back at guys on fast breaks. You remember that? He doesn't do that
right.
anymore. But I think it burned him once, and that was all it took. So,
Right.
look, fast breaks, 2-on-1 breaks should be guaranteed 2 buckets.
Yeah.
And to screw it up on a something like fancy or whatever,
Hmm.
yeah. But
I mean, we
again,
were up
one
10, right? So,
we were, and then we
and
went to overtime. So
yeah,
it
we
leads on
blew
out
it.
forever. Anyway,
We blew
Nathaniel,
it.
thanks a lot for calling in, man. I'm
No
happy you're
problem.
excited. You sound a lot
Yeah,
better than you were
sorry.
last game. So yeah,
I feel like I came in a little too hot almost. I'm a little excited just, because we got the win. It was a must
yep,
win and we got it eventually. It was an ugly process and not all
yep,
games are going to be pretty, but
yep.
yeah, just happy for the win, but I agree with all the things you were saying and your analysis was correct and yeah.
Well, my
Sweet.
analysis was totally incorrect because on Instagram I asked everyone if they thought this was going to be a win, a loss, like a close win, a close loss, a blowout win, or a blowout loss. And most people actually got it correct. Most people said blowout win or close win. I
Okay.
think close win. It was a close win, so I think
Okay.
most of our audience got it right. I got it wrong. I thought it was going to be a close loss, and
Oh,
right around overtime, I was like, all right, they're going to lose this game. They're cooked,
yeah. I
and
was thinking that too.
I didn't expect the Wizards to shit the bed the way they did. But credit
Yeah.
to the Raptors defense, man. Honestly, Scottie and OG, holy shit, their defense was
Yeah.
incredible.
There's a
So
couple silver linings for sure. I mean,
yeah,
there's a lot of negative, a lot of positives, but yeah, just happy with the win. Hope they can improve. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I'll let you get to the next caller. Thank you.
All right, thanks a lot, Nathaniel. Peace. Okay, next up we got Tonious. Did you get kicked out, man? Tonious, what's up?
Hey, what's up? No, I was on my phone and then I just got back onto my PC with a better mic.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
that.
Yeah. So this was one of those games that I had only a first quarter to watch, and then I had to bail because there was a dinner. There was a dinner that was up. I mean, I'm not paying for this dinner, so
Dinner.
I packed it up. Yeah. Well, it was a hot pot fondue, man. I can't say no to that.
Mm,
Anyways,
casuals.
I guess judging from the score, we won by this, and from your call,
Judging by the score,
yeah,
we
judging by
won.
the score, I guess we won this thing, but so I'm guess hearing, yeah, but then I saw the stats and I saw the plus minuses, and I think we got Pascal being guilty of his usual I and one and I yo when he doesn't get the call, right?
He did a lot of that actually.
Yeah.
Yes, there was a particularly egregious play, I believe, to end the half or end the third quarter, where he was just it was the half to end
Mhm.
the half where he just completely had nowhere to go. I mean, once teams figure this out, like that he
Or against
can't
Siakam.
really
Yeah.
do anything when you put someone switchy on him.
Mhm.
Like Denny Avdia is the nightmare matchup of Pascal Siakam's dreams. Like he is a
Yeah.
nightmare. In fact, a guy like OG Anunoby, if another team had him, like maybe one of the biggest reasons to not trade OG is you would have another team that would literally be able to shut down Siakam whenever the hell they wanted because he'd not be able to score on OG.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's surprising that he can't score on OG, but DeLon Wright scored on OG a lot tonight. So that's
Yeah.
sort of weird. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of weird how the Raptors can't seem to get three guys going on the same night. It's like it's either the Jakob and Fred night, or it's the Scotty and OG night, or it's the Pascal and Gary night. But it doesn't seem like they can get everyone firing. There's always like one guy who's like 1 for 10, 2 for 13, whatever. And it happens a lot for a lot of teams. But it would be nice to see one game where everyone just. I
Click.
mean, that happens. It happens. Like one in every 6 games. It's like there's no one who had a bad game.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
And
with the Raptors, it seems like there's always somebody who had a bad game. So it's a little bit frustrating. Yeah.
yeah, it's because I think it's just like kind of the IQ. It's just the IQ level or whatever circumstance that's between the well, we've seen enough of Fred, but then Fred at least did his thing to at least help the team. But then you got Pascal just again just freezing out our offense because he's doing that Chris Bosh back in 2009 till 2011 type thing. Well, no.
Hmm.
He didn't stay within 2011, 2008, 2009. That's it. And then yeah, it's because the thing now is that we got Scotty, who is when Pascal was doing things right, he loves to catch it in the paint with his foot on the elbow, and then he operates inside. But now because Scotty's kind of taken that key area where he does that little setup, and he's got a better handle and a better like kind of sixth sense of like where his guys are cutting better than Pascal. And then pretty much Pascal.
I don't think he has a better handle than Pascal.
Well, but in terms
He
of
definitely he sees the game better than
yeah,
Pascal, and he has better
well,
vision,
not
and
yeah.
he's a way better passer. But I don't think he has a better handle than
Okay,
Pascal.
handle like not like dribble handle.
Once Scotty gets
Yeah,
Pascal's handle, it's lights out. It's curtains for the
yeah.
league.
I guess the
Um,
footwork's not there yet too, but I mean he has
Footwork, handle,
yeah,
because his
right.
timing, like he can time it. Like he knows when to go, when to stop. He knows when to pass.
Yeah,
Like this rhythm of the game, this sort of what we call basketball IQ, feel, etc. This is where Scotty shines. It's like
yeah,
he could think circles around most guys. it's the skill work, it's the skill development that has so far to go for him. You know, polishing up like the footwork on the step back, knowing when to hesi, when in out. You know, when like how to take that step and then turn over the shoulder. Like this stuff takes development. Kawhi took a while,
Mm-hmm.
right? Not everybody comes in like Luka Doncic, right? Like
Yeah.
where they're just like balls out, like superstar level talent on day one. Some guys have to work for it really hard. But the end of it, once you develop that skill package, then all your physical and mental tools can shine, right? And that's where I'm at with Scottie. It's like he just, sometimes I just wish the season could just stop right now so we could have an off season of development.
Mm-hmm.
I think he knows the gaps in his game. This season has not gone how he would have wanted to. He's had
Yeah.
2 entire months shooting below 40% from the
Struggle.
from
Yeah.
the field. That really didn't happen for him last year. He had one bad month last year. He's had two really shaky months this year. He walked into the season with all-star aspirations. He said it. He said he wanted to be an all-star this year.
Mm-hmm.
That was at least a goal. I'm pretty sure he wouldn't hunt it. He wouldn't press for it, but he had an idea that he was going to take a step up, and it hasn't happened in a consistent way. There have been moments, there have been quarters, there's been a month here, there's been like a 2 game stretch here, a 3 game stretch here. If the Raptors are hoping to bounce somebody in a play-in situation and or get a favorable play-in matchup or a play-in seeding where they are not literally having to bank their season being the 10th seed or something like that, he's going to have to be a lot better for them, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he just has to get more possessions. So, hey, was there any lineups that Will Barton and Gary Trent were on the floor at the same time? Because as soon as they announced Barton was going to join our team, I had this I had this notion that you had before, like him not being good at defense in metrics, and
He was good
man,
tonight.
yeah. I think it's because this is the team that waived him, so I knew he had to have a chip in his shoulder and cause some crap on Kuzma.
Well, man, if he can do this, like a hell of a pickup. Like he was so, like he is, yeah, like he's got the shooting, he's got just enough ball handling and passing and playmaking, and he's got the size, like a plus
Yeah, he's
size
still got
defender.
enough agility and athleticism within his game that makes that makes Gary Trent look kind of like old. So yeah, because Gary, it's like Gary again. Is that what's holding him back? Is that this is why he was a second round pick? He did not have athleticism like a Shaden Sharp, and then it's again the reason. Like,
Can you name me 5 guys in the world who have athleticism like Shaden Sharp? That's a pretty high bar to set.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying. I don't think athleticism necessarily looks the same way. I think Gary's a solid athlete, personally. I think, yeah, he can't jump super high and he may not be the twitchiest guy in the world, but balance, coordination, hand-eye coordination, dexterity, all these things should be a part of what we consider athleticism,
yeah.
And too often, like you're saying, that's why he was a second round pick. I'm saying someone should get fired because he's a second round pick because he shouldn't have been a second round pick. I don't think Seth Curry should have gone undrafted. There's a lot of guys that just
people got
they
missed.
slip through the cracks because they don't fit, they don't check certain boxes. But
Right.
I think Gary's a much better
standards.
athlete than people give him credit for. And I think Scottie's a better
Yeah, he's
athlete
still
than people
young
give him
enough.
credit for. I think OG's a better athlete than people give him credit for. Not all athleticism looks like Shaden Sharp.
OG was held back because of that major significant injury, and like if he didn't get injured at all and still did not get injured, he would be he number one would have gotten picked 5th in that draft. And
I don't think he would have gone 5th. I think that's overblown personally.
well,
But yeah,
okay, yeah, but you see what he did before the injury in Indiana, where he made some of those dunks.
he was
It's
solid.
Like, my God, that was
He still dunks.
yeah, he dunks, but he used to be way more fluent, and he used to smash it down.
I gotta be honest. I've watched OG Anunoby footage from AAU when he was in grade 7, grade 8. He was never that fluid.
He was never okay. He was never.
He was a little more fluid than he is now, probably because just bigger and older. But yeah, he was never like like it's not like he was Vince Carter and then he turned into OG Anunoby. Like he was, he was always a little upright. He was always a little clunky. I think
Okay.
it's just with him. It's balance issues and stuff. Anyways, Tony, thanks a lot for calling in, man. Appreciate it. Glad you got to enjoy some food, and
Yeah.
next time be a better fan and watch the whole game. No, I'm just kidding. I'm
I'll
kidding.
try to. I'll try to. What's the next game at? Are we going to do
Denver.
a road trip?
Denver.
In Denver. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Yeah, we're fucked. We're fucked. All right.
Altitude. Yeah. Okay.
All right. See you, man.
All right. Have a good
Have a
night.
good one. All right. Chris, what up, man?
Hey, Robert, what's up?
Not too much, man. What's going on with you?
I'm good. I know you're a little disappointed about the win, but I thought this was a good win.
I'm not disappointed about the win. I think it's complicated to see how you put yourself in situations where you need another team to bail you out this way.
I agree with you. This game definitely should have ended in regulation.
Yeah.
Definitely should have ended in regulation. But I did have a couple of topics I wanted to bring up in regards to the game that I
Sure.
like. So the defense.
Mm-hmm.
I thought the defense was great.
You thought defense was great, eh?
At least not great, but like it was a lot better than Thursday. And then I thought they showed in flashes potential of how great this defense could be. I think.
Do you want to talk about the 58% 3-point shooting though?
Yeah, but like 25 turnovers.
That's fair. Yes. It was 24 turnovers. And yeah, it was disruptive as hell. They had 34 points off those turnovers. Sorry, what?
That's what the whole defense is all about.
Yeah.
Like,
Sorry.
That's the whole point, of playing so aggressive all the time. They're trying to generate these turnovers. So if that's what they're trying to do, then they're successful. Sorry, they were successful with that. Sorry.
But like, I get that. I do get that. But 58% from three, putting a team on the line, they put them on the line 22 times versus only getting to the line 14 times. Like, let me be honest. If I didn't show you the score and I just showed you the stats, I showed you that one team shot 58% from three, got to the line more often, out rebounded the Raptors by 9. I mean, you would probably think the Raptors lost this game, right?
I would, but I'd ask you who are the two teams playing. If you show me the 24 turnovers, I'm fine with that because that's what they're trying to do.
I think a lot of the turnovers, man, I got to be honest. I think a lot of those turnovers, you can go back and actually watch them. They are unforced turnovers. Some of them are forced. I'll agree with that. But man, some of them are just like Kyle Kuzma just throwing the ball like out of bounds, or someone just not knowing where another player is supposed to be. And I mean, those happen every game. But like it was, like, again, to quote that Russell Westbrook thing of, did you win this game or did they lose this game? It feels to me like they lost this game.
I don't know. I can't go that far. I thought like the effort today on that side was a lot better. Like even like Fred and Pascal show a lot better effort. Like I think Pascal had, like 4 steals,
Right.
and like I think he was on he got put on the island with Porzingis this one time, on and
That was good.
And then like Fred also had a sequence with Brad like that a couple times as well too.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just think like I've given up on the offense for this team, so I just like really got on. I just want to really ride the defense because I really feel like really can be special on that side, especially with the starting lineup.
I know you're a Raptors fan, but if you were a Wizards fan tonight, what would you be thinking?
Okay, if I was a Wizard fan, I'd be saying, okay, we let one slide away.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
But this team's a lot better than I thought they were on Thursday. I have a little more respect for this team.
I don't.
What my opinion of more something.
I think it's fair because look, after the trade deadline, they get rid of Rui Hachimura, they elevate Denny Avdia, who doesn't play in the second half for them. I think he's made a big difference. I really do. I think DeLon Wright playing more minutes makes a difference too. I was always a little critical of the fact that he wasn't playing much.
Oh yeah, I just up on fantasy too. He had a big game for me actually.
He's good. He's a really good player, and I was really hoping the Raptors would draft him. They did draft him. I was hoping the Raptors would bring him back, and that would have been so cool to have DeLon and Jakob back. Like that would be like, oh my God, we're just getting all the assets we traded away that championship run. But he's good. He's really good. I would love to see him as a Raptor, to be honest.
I agree with that. Another topic I wanted to bring up. I thought the rotations were a lot better today. Uh,
Really? Okay. Yep. I
I'm
mean,
not.
I'm happy to see, Will Barton get consistent minutes, but like, what do you think of Scottie Barnes coming in with 52 seconds in the fourth?
Yeah, I was. The whole fourth was kind of like interesting for me because, like, I've been wondering what was going to happen since this trade happened. Like in these situations, like what would happen, like where Nick Nurse would go, and I was really surprised he went with Gary Trent as much as he did. Honestly, like
Gary was, I mean,
even
he
though Gary was
was the offense.
yeah, he was the offense, but I always thought like I always thought Nick was always like a defensive first type. So I always thought like in that situation you would have probably went with Yak to close it out.
Mm-hmm.
I won't lie, that's what I wanted him to do, honestly.
Yeah.
But he went with Gary as much as he did, and it paid off because Gary really closed out this game for us, honestly, with his shot making. Um,
Tough shots, man. Like
yeah.
really tough shots, dynamic, hitting that shot over Kristaps Porzingis,
Mhm.
having to adjust, his release point fading away. I mean, I'm not a fan of these shots in general, but kudos to someone who's hitting them, man.
The thing is, he makes them consistently. Well, not I don't want to say consistently, but it's part of his game. And even in the playoffs, he was making them when he started feeling better. So
There's a lot of guys like this in the NBA. I
mhm.
gotta be honest, like there's a lot of guys who are warming up G League benches that can do 80% of what he does on a night to night basis. They're just talented players. Like I'm not throwing this out there, but Lou Williams, Jamal Crawford, these were like the elite versions of this type of player, that microwave scorer who can get you buckets, who doesn't have to come in and, have like a lot of rhythm in the game. They can just sort of generate something out of nothing. Um,
What did you think
yeah,
of Scotty plus bench? I
I
really
love
like
that
that.
lineup
Yeah.
every time I see it. It's those guys move, they cut. Chris Boucher and Precious Achua, granted, not the smartest players in the world, but they're active. They crash the glass. They move without the ball, and Scotty just finds them. And when he runs point, the offense looks good. When he doesn't, when he's kind of, it's sort of that's why the title of this video is it's complicated because it is complicated. On the one hand, in order to execute this team perfectly, ideally you could give like if you could meld skill sets together, you would give Scotty's, vision, upside, etc., and then tack on Fred's jump shot and just melt them into one player, and shot making, like Gary's shot making and Scotty's everything. Like if you could just give Gary's shot making to Scotty, like you're set. You know what I mean? You have a
Oh, yeah.
superstar.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. I like the extra. I don't know. Like I like what Barton brings to that lineup. An extra ball handler and an extra like playmaker, and like I was really surprised about his defense this game as well too. I think he had
He
a
knows these guys, man. He knows them. He's
that's true
played against them all year.
all year. That's probably what that is probably the edge today. So I'm hoping this isn't just like a one time thing. Hopefully he can at least keep up the effort. I'm not gonna bet on it, but I really like what I saw from that lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's pretty much all the topics I wanted to cover. So yeah, so Denver on I think Tuesday or is it Monday?
Monday.
I'm not expecting to win, but like I'd really like to see a good effort.
Well, someone mentioned in the chat that Scotty had his best game last year against Denver. I don't think that that's necessarily true. I mean, we could debate it, but there was a brilliant game from him, and I think that was a fourth quarter where he held Jokic scoreless, where he
Mhm.
was matched up against him. It was hella impressive, and you know, I mean, this is a look at the future, right? Like the Denver Nuggets. Like I watch the Denver Nuggets all the time, partly because Jokic and I come from the same country, partially because I just love beautiful basketball. And watching Jokic play basketball, it's so ironic how often he's running some of the same actions that Scotty's running. It's just the offense just consistently runs through him. It's running through him in the posts. He screens, relocates, boom, and it's just he is the offense. Like in so many ways, he's like a master chess player. Just like and in his best moments, Scotty does remind me a lot of Nikola Jokic in terms of like some of the stuff that he's doing. I'm not saying he's a center. He's obviously not a center. He's a guard. But yeah, he has some of the same stuff that he can go to right now. So
No,
it'd be
for
really interesting to see
that.
if that's a matchup he really goes at. Because I seem to sense with Scotty that he does. I've mentioned this before. He saves his best for the best. So when he's going up, against an MVP. Now, granted, interestingly enough, it's Jakob Poeltl who's also been doing a lot of
Yeah.
Jokic-ish stuff for the Raptors as well. So, yeah, I mean it should be a really fun matchup.
I'm liking that trade every day more and more.
Jakob,
And yeah, I don't know. I know you gave it a D and everything, but like I don't know. I think like just like
he's a really good player, man.
really,
Like he's a really good player. He's a really good dude. It's really hard for me to be known as the guy who hates that trade, but I just want people to understand why I hate that trade. I hate it because of what it does for Scottie. I hate it because of what it does for our future stable of assets, and I hate it because I knew that it would push us into the play-in, and I wanted us to be in the lottery. That's why I gave it a D. And because I don't think that even with Jakob that you can beat. Like it's not like you trade for KD and you're like, okay, all right, we have gone all in. It's like
do you feel like he was dogging
you know
it?
what it is? I'll tell you what it is. Do you drive?
Yes.
Okay, you ever had a shitty car?
Yes, my first car. All right.
Okay, your shitty car, right? A lot of people have a first shitty car, right? And you get it and it has like 130,000 miles on it or something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
And someone's like, okay, the knob is broken here, the heater doesn't work, the AC, and you're like, all right, all right, all right, the radio doesn't work, this doesn't work, that doesn't work, whatever. So it breaks down on the highway, first day, you're like, oh shit. So you get something fixed. And then it breaks down again 3 weeks later, and you get it fixed again. And then you're like, all right, I want to actually date some girls, and I actually want to bring some girls in this car, so I'm going to have to spruce up the interior, I'm going to have to do this, I'm going to have to do that. And you start like actually investing into this busted ass car because it's always cheaper than buying a new car, right?
Yeah.
You just keep doing it. You fix the dial, fix the interior, fix the transmission, whatever. And you just keep doing it. And then you look up and you're like, shit, this is like still worse than a car that's 15 years old. I put $10,000 into this fucking car. I could have bought two cars that were better than this for $10,000. What am I doing? Getting Jakob Poeltl is like getting a new interior or getting a new paint job on a shitty car. It makes it look better, and definitely it is better. You're better off than you were before, but why? Because if you're going up on a race against a Ferrari like the freaking Boston Celtics, don't show up to that race. It's not worth it, especially when there's an actual cost to showing up to that race. And look, I don't know if that analogy lands. I don't know shit about cars.
I understand where you're going with that, and like I understand like you wanted to be in the lottery, and like I honestly like when we were like losing consistently like right before the trade deadline, like I was on the same boat. But like personally for me, like I'd rather have Scottie get into the playoffs, get some more experience than having more lottery balls. So that's
my dude. He's got 3 gold medals. He's won everywhere he's been. He won at Montverde. He's a winner through and through. He got the playoff experience last year.
I know
think
that, but like
if Scottie Barnes could probably like look at this like 10 years from now and say, hey, would you have taken a 10 to 15% chance to get Victor Wembanyama as a teammate for the next 6 years of your life, throwing dimes to that dude, or Scoot Henderson? I mean, look, Scottie loves basketball. Scottie loves high IQ basketball. Those two guys are like cornerstone guys that you could build with. I mean, you go from possibly one of the more confusing outlooks for the future to the team with the most enviable future in the NBA in a single offseason with either of those two guys, right? And I'm not even throwing in the Thompson brothers, because that would help a lot too. Because you talk about Gary's shot making; those guys are shot makers too. Okay, and they're bigger, they're better, and they're just way more talented. Like there's like 7 guys in this draft who could probably start for you on day one tomorrow, next year. And it's just to give up on all of that, to give up on additional picks. Again, it doesn't matter how good Jakob Poeltl gets unless he.
Well, you saw his 7-game stretch. You saw the numbers last time, so
$8.2 plus minus. I get it. I definitely get it, man. He is so good. And if you told me we traded Gary for him, I would get it. If you told me we traded Pascal for Jakob Poeltl and 3 first-round picks, I would be over the moon. I would have given that trade an A plus. You know that? I would have given it an A plus because I actually don't think there's I don't think, like, if I was ranking out every player in the NBA, I don't think where I rank Jakob Poeltl is that different than where I rank Pascal Siakam. They might be separated by like 20, 25 spots, 30 spots. Like
No,
they're not like, it's not like I'm comparing, Jordan Clarkson to Luka Doncic. Like
no,
that's far.
no.
This is
Jakob's
not that
really
far.
good. Jakob's really good.
He's really good. Of course he's
Really,
really
really.
good. And he should be really good. And he's going to be paid like he's really good. The problem is, does he fit? Because if he doesn't fit, it doesn't matter how good he is, right? I mean, look, it's like you could put Kevin Love on the wrong team and make Kevin Love a liability. Just like you could put Chris Bosh on the wrong team. Like these guys are a hell of a lot better than Jakob Poeltl. Let me tell you that. In their prime, way better.
Yeah.
Fit matters a lot because how good a guy is has to impact the other guys positively or negatively. I don't know who he helps other than, Pascal and Fred right now. He's got to be with shooters. Like it doesn't work. Your best player right now, I mean, if we can call him that, is Pascal Siakam. He's not a great shooter. And I'm sorry. We just looked at DeLon Wright's percentages on the year. He's shooting 36%. Nobody considers him a great three-point shooter. Your best three-point shooter, this marksman, so-called marksman that you have that's gunning for fucking, a max contract, is shooting 3% worse than that. And your rookie of the year last year is shooting 6.5% worse than a guy who's not considered a great shooter in DeLon Wright, right? And your franchise player Pascal Siakam is shooting, like he's shooting below league average too. You cannot surround this guy with all below league average, 3-point shooters and be like, okay, it's going to be great. It just doesn't work. In my opinion, it doesn't work. Again, I mentioned the last game. I don't want to get repetitive. It's an end game move. It's an end game move that you do when you have a star. It's a move that you make when you have a Luka Doncic, when you have a Jason Tatum. It's when
I,
you have a real shot. You don't have a shot.
I understand that, but like, I think at least from my opinion, I think the front office believes that Scottie is that star, and they believe, at least I think they believe that Siakam can. Well, he's proven he can be the second leading scorer on the team. So, I think they're trying to hopefully hope that Scottie could get there within these next couple years, and then
And Jakob Poeltl, I mean, look, whatever Scottie does, he has never flashed. In my opinion, he has never flashed any hope for me that he is going to be a significantly above average shooter.
well, he's shooting like they say. I think he's shooting like 40% from three from at home in home games, but like terribly on the road though.
Wasn't that Siakam?
Oh, who you? I thought we were talking about Siakam.
No, we're talking about Scottie.
Oh, okay.
Look, and I mean, look, role players do tend to play better at home, so that doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah, I just that was a drive-by shooting on Pascal Siakam there. My bad. Look, I just think that when your roster is constructed around guys who are straight line drivers, like this would be like, you know what this would be like? This would be like the Milwaukee Bucks, saying Giannis is our main guy. Let's bring in Eddie Curry, or let's bring in Shaq, or let's bring in Tyson Chandler. Like all of these guys are going to be occupying a certain space on the court that Giannis absolutely needs to be in, and he's the best person to be there, right? Now, I'm not saying that Scottie is the perfect or most ideal player to build around because, yeah, in an ideal world, you would probably rather build around a player who didn't have such a glaring weakness. Yeah, sure. But, beggars can't be choosers, and frankly, you'll take a superstar or a potential superstar however the hell you can get them. Okay? There aren't, no one's perfect. Luka, ideally, you wouldn't want, to build around a defensive liability, but that's what the Mavericks are doing. They're building around two defensive liabilities in Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Like offensive genius does not grow on trees. And so I understand the concept of building around Scottie. It's not going to be without its challenges. You're going to have to put him in positions to succeed. But look, like one of the things that, tonight the Wizards broadcast was talking about, like you need to run the offense through this guy. You need to build around him. Like he is a future star. And, still you got Raptor fans being like, nah, it's Fred and Pascal's team. I don't get it.
I'm not on that boat. I wouldn't say I'm on that boat. But I think, I don't know. It's tough. Like the front office put themselves in a really sticky situation. I agree with you that sometimes their decisions they make are too emotionally based. I feel like a lot of these decisions that they've made recently, it's like I think Masai feels like he owes like these guys something, which he doesn't, which I don't understand that, but that's Masai himself,
Mm-hmm.
his personality being a good person, right?
Yep.
But yeah, it's gonna be interesting. But
Yeah, well, look, I'm hoping for a win against Denver. I think that would be a real test. I don't necessarily care what they do against the Wizards. I'm happy that they split it. It's cool. It's on the road. It wasn't an easy, thing to do, to go into their building. But these things tend to work out in a split, usually. I mean, the
yeah,
Raptors, they split it with Miami, right? I think they won one, lost one. It happens a lot where these teams, when you play them back to back, it's also, especially when the teams are relatively close, but in a one-off, now you've seen the Wizards 2 games in a row. Final question for you: if we met them in a play-in, what odds would it take for you to actually bet on the Raptors?
we'd have to have the home game. We'd have to have it have to be like we're the 7th seed and we have the home game. It just have to be that situation.
Oh wow, okay, so everything has to line up for us. So if we were the 10th seed and they were 9th, right? Let's just say, because they have the 14th hardest schedule, we have the first hardest schedule, that somehow they bridge the 1 game gap between the two teams, or 1.5 game gap between the two teams now. And you got even odds, right? Even, dead even, 1 for 1. Would you bet on the Raptors to win against the Wizards, 10th seed versus 9th seed? Wizards have home court.
I wouldn't. I think the Wizards are a lot better than I think they've really underachieved because I think this team is really talented.
Yeah. I think we lost you. I think we lost you for a second.
Yeah, sorry, I got a call. I think they're the only team that has 3 20-point scorers in the league, I think.
I mean, the Raptors had 5 15-point per game scorers last year. It doesn't mean a lot.
I think both of them they're evenly matched. So for me, like home court would be the separator. So I would have to go with the Wizards on that. Yeah, I don't think this team is that much talented than the Wizards. I think this team is really talented, and I think both teams have really underachieved this year compared to their talent base. So I have to go with whoever has home court.
I'm very curious. Like I would like to do a little bit of research into Kristaps Porzingis as a playoff performer, because honestly tonight, as the intensity dialed up, he seemed to get better. And that is usually a very good sign for a playoff performer. Now, I realize he hasn't, first he was on those Knicks teams, right? And then he was on the Mavs teams. And I think the Wizards are just using him differently. And I've liked him with the Wizards more than I've liked him in any other spot.
I actually want the Raptors to trade for him, actually. This season.
I did too. I did too. Last year, when he was considered a quote-unquote albatross contract and who's going to pay him all that money, I was just like, I just think he's more talented than Siakam. So, yeah, and I still feel that way. I think he's more talented than Siakam.
I think he is more talented, but I think Siakam's better.
I agree. Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to say it. Thanks a lot for your call, man. I appreciate it.
Take care. Good night.
Good night. All right. No name. No, you stop it. So apparently we were interested in Kristaps last year, the deadline before the Wizards got him. Wonder how he would look right now if that had happened. Yeah, I think that's pretty much the perfect guy to put on this roster as a stretch big. Him versus Jakob, you could say, okay, the impact metrics are similar, or maybe even Jakob's better in a lot of ways. But in terms of spacing, in terms of fit, like, man, he would be a dream fit. Next up, we got Mario. Mario, what's up? Did you happen to catch the Wizards broadcast tonight?
Yeah, I was listening to the Wizards. Drew Gooden is their color guy. He agreed with you that Bradley wasn't passing the ball in the fourth. He was just going nuts over their lack of ball movement. But he does, he just sees something different in Scottie. And you said that about 28% in mid. And, so many guys on our team this year are fucked up. I mean, Precious is shooting, 25% from 3 last year after the the All-Star break, I think he hit 40% from three for the
39.
Yeah, there you go. So anyways, I don't feel like we've ever got comfortable.
Can you please stop shaking your mic? Like you're doing something with your mic. It's very disruptive. Is it possible for you to do that?
I think so. I had my elbow on the table. Maybe that was it.
Yeah, that would be it.
Okay. So yeah, so there's a lot of bits and pieces, and I think for me the most important thing is maybe we've actually started an evolution tonight. And
How so?
it's an evolution that I wanted to see and I talked about in the off season. I think Scottie should initiate, but with this group of people, I
Mhm.
would have Gary Trent Jr. taken my last shot. But not the way Fred gives him the ball on the, like outside the here, Gary, it's your shot. Build a play. Like start with Scottie on the other side of the floor, run Gary off a couple screens, get him an open shot. But I think he's got a potential to be a closer, to be a really, really good closer in this league.
I could buy that. Yeah.
So this is the first time I've seen us not just give the ball to Pascal and Fred down the stretch, but instead to give it to Gary and let Gary.
Well,
shot.
they had the yips, number one. Number two, they didn't have anything going, so like it's only you can clank so many shots only so often when you don't have it going, when you're not even hitting like half your shots. Yeah, it becomes hard. But the third thing is I think Gary is a very limited passer. He's gotten better this year, and I think he's also a little bit limited in the paint. And so if teams aggressively try to stop him, like if he develops a reputation as a closer and he starts getting attention, like if he starts getting the same attention that Siakam gets, like yeah, it's not going to be as pretty as it looks right now, but I agree that he has shot making talents that warrant that. Yeah.
Let's start with the ball in Scottie's hand going downhill.
Mhm.
You see what that's the way I would run this. But to me, I never thought we were going to win this year. I
Okay.
think they're going to make a big trade just before just before the draft, or I don't know when. But I don't think we're going to see all these people back next year. And I think that Scottie and Precious and Koloko all have the chance to be like 35, 38% shooters from
From
three.
3?
And,
Okay.
and ridiculous. I mean, I don't know about Koloko, but I mean, I've seen him hit a crunch time three, and he looked like he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
not like he's Jakob Poeltl and won't shoot it.
Do you want to guess what Jakob Poeltl's box plus minus is after 8 games?
Huge.
So it was 8.2 after 7 games. Guess where it is after 8 games?
10.
10.2.
Yeah, I mean, he's had a huge impact. And you know
Yeah.
what Drew Gooden said? I don't have an opinion on this because I didn't see it and I don't even know what the triangle looks like. He
Mhm.
thinks we were running the triangle offense with Jakob and Scottie, and I don't know who the third one was, but there was this period in the third or maybe early fourth quarter, and
Mhm.
we were really scoring really, really smoothly, lots of interior passing. And he went, "Oh my God, now the Raptors are pulling out the triangle offense." And so I know we have to change. I know that the way we've been playing this year is crap, but we're asking a number 2 to be a number 1, and we're asking a microwave scorer off the bench who should be our 6th man to initiate the offense. And so, of
Yeah.
course, we suck. But Scottie's not fully ready. When Fred was away and he was starting, I mean, he doesn't seem to know how to use a screen properly, or I don't know what it is. But he was just trying to
Scottie?
back people down half the time as a point guard to
Mhm.
initiate offense, and that's really not enough ball movement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there you go. So uh, I think you'd find this interesting. I saw this. I just watch a random amount of stuff from all over the league. So
Mhm.
I can't always remember what it was, but these guys might be called Deep Three. Just 3 young guys who really like basketball, and they throw up a podcast. And
Okay.
they redrafted whatever year that is
Mhm.
with Pascal and Simmons and Poeltl.
Brandon Ingram. Mhm.
Yeah, And who do you think they put as redrafting number 1?
Siakam.
And who do you think was number 2 who was they were going to pick instead of him?
Brandon Ingram.
Jaylen Brown.
Wait, what?
Yeah, they picked Siakam over Jaylen Brown. But I
I
think,
mean, that's fine.
yeah, but I think in the league, that's the comparable. And when I think about how good Jaylen Brown is, I think again about who Pascal Siakam is, but I'd trade him for Keegan Murray, salary filler, and 1 first.
That might be a little bit low. I think maybe you're higher on Keegan Murray than I am, but he's been decent. I mean, he's a rotation player on what is, widely considered the best offense in NBA history in the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think I'd get rid of him for that little.
I saw him last night, and the kid's got a huge IQ. He's setting screens. He's playing smart. He's making the right pass. Really, really like that kid. He's big. He's strong, and he can shoot like crazy from outside.
I like his fit with Scottie. Yeah, I mean, again, look, I mean, it's gonna get repetitive for some people, but I'm just gonna keep saying it. When my team building philosophy is you build around your star. Whoever is your star, that's who you should build around. You should draft according to that. You should draft to their timeline. You should build on their timeline. If I was running if I was running the Chicago Bulls in 1986 right now, and I had Michael Jordan, yeah, I would be thinking about putting players around him who could work with a guy who can work without the ball, who can defend, who can set screens, who can make his life easier. If I'm running the Dallas Mavericks in 2023, I'm thinking about plus defenders who can, help when Luka Doncic gets blown by, because that's my star and he needs help on defense, right? Team vision has to be built that way, right? And you build towards, it's not mutually exclusive. Like you just build around a star, but you fucking forget everything else. No, you're building a system around a star, right? And in the absence of that star, then you build around the system, and I guess
backwards because we're focused on defense. And when I listen around the league, it's like the guys in Cleveland, they claim that that the rules department in the off season has a huge job of dealing with the Raptors because we're the most aggressive team offensively and defensively. That often our offense just evolves into dropping our shoulder into someone's chest and then jumping off the ground and screaming for a foul. And it's true. And we grab and we hold and we punch and we are on top of people 48 minutes a game. And Jakob was saying, like playing with the Spurs, you wanted to play safe and not foul. And it's a shift here because it's be in everybody's face all the time. But with the color guys all around the league are scared of us like nothing else. And they talk about how aggressive we are and how we're taking the ball away and how long we are. And I love that idea. And one guy said, everybody wants to be the Raptors in terms of, is there a solution to the 3-point shooting, a defensive scheme? And people think it's us. Well, they don't all think we have the right people yet. And that for me is a real big question that I don't have an answer to, is how good is the scheme and how good still are we at executing the scheme? Or maybe the scheme is just not the right scheme.
Scheme in theory is great. I know about the scheme. I love the scheme. I think the execution has been bad. I think the buy-in has been sometimes piss poor. The effort, attention to detail has been bad. But when it has worked, how it has worked has been brilliant. And you could imagine it shutting down just about any team, any player, and giving you a very competitive advantage or shot at it. At some point, I think to close this, I will talk about chess theory as it pertains to basketball theory. And I think it's just easier to demonstrate with chess. So I'll definitely talk about that to close the show. Anyways, Mario, thanks a lot as always. Really appreciate the call, man.
Chainsaw chess.
Pardon?
I said I like to play chainsaw chess.
I don't know what chainsaw chess is.
It's my own term. I just have been very good at chess from a very young age. My whole family played chess.
That's amazing.
I won tournaments tournaments that as I was younger before I found girls. And I'm nowhere near patient enough for chess, but for me, because I'm so good with the spatial dynamics, I just attack, 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 attack. The
That's
most
very
aggressive
interesting.
thing I think while you're thinking, and I move instantly after you've moved in the most aggressive way I can. And I'm not that good against great defensive players, but I like the Raptors. I make other people make lots of mistakes, and then I feast on.
Yeah, there's a there's an extremely psychological component to chess that you don't really pick up until you go to tournaments and you start playing really good players. But I fully understand what you're saying. All right,
Cool.
thanks a lot, Mario. Cheers. See ya. Next up, Jesse. Jesse, what's up, man?
Hey, how are you doing today, Rob?
Not bad. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Uh, we've talked a lot today in the last couple of weeks just about Pascal and the clutch, or clutch time for the Raptors in general. And I think that a lot of people, especially the more casual fans, don't really take a look at what the advanced metrics are saying about our team, especially in the last 5 minutes of close games.
Sure.
So if I was to give the entire fan base just these numbers, 55% field goal percentage, 37% 3 points made, and 93% at the line, which player would they think that would be? And I think a lot of them would think that it was either Fred or Pascal, and they'd be surprised to learn that it's Scottie Barnes.
Yep.
And I think that's one of the things that I made a comment in the chat earlier was when I saw Scottie heading to the scorer's table to check in within the last 3 minutes of the game. I definitely thought, hey, we've just watched Pascal turn it over twice, play one-on-one, 1-versus-5 basketball for 3 possessions straight.
Right.
This was the time for Nick to just say, hey, Pascal, clutch time is not your time. This clutch time is Scottie Barnes' time. Let's leave Poeltl in. Let's leave everybody else on the floor. Sorry, Pascal. To win this game, to close this game out in regulation, we're going to put Scottie Barnes into this game. And that's not what happened. And what happened is, well, we end up going into overtime.
Yeah.
So I really think that our team really needs to start thinking more about how to best utilize our clutch players in these close games, since we've played so many close games this season, and we're just not utilizing the players who are there, ready to go, ready to take the spotlight and win and close games.
Yeah, I mean, at some point, the future has to be considered, right? Yes, I get it. Right now, you would probably rather go with Pascal Siakam as your first option on a night-to-night basis for the vast majority of the game, even though he has routinely underperformed when the intensity is dialed up. And look, not all games are intense. Some games are passive, right? Some games are blowouts, either for you or the opponent. But when things get really, really tense, the audience, the crowd gets into it, the other teams are jawing at you, you're jawing at them, things get it gets that, what they call playoff intensity. Once playoff intensity starts to come into the equation, once that machismo and bravado and that element of it is introduced, of the, your best versus our best, high pressure, high situation, I think in those situations, right, that's when I think Pascal Siakam usually needs to fade back to being a role player. The problem is Jakob Poeltl's a way better role player than him. So yeah, in that sense, if it's no one's perfect. There's just a whole bunch of imperfect options on this team, right? So if you're gonna introduce Scottie into it, you're gonna have a guy who's gonna space the floor a little bit less for the other guys. If you're gonna introduce Jakob into it, well, you're going to have a guy who's at least historically been, although he's been very good of late, a free throw shooting liability to end the game close, right? And if you're going to have Gary, it's going to be your worst defender. If you have Fred VanVleet, it's going to be your smallest defender, and he's a 33% shooter. I don't know. There's a lot of give or take. There's no like, this guy has to be on the court. So I agree. I think you just play it by ear. And, if Scottie's having a shit game and Siakam's having a really great game, then fine, just ride with Siakam. But don't bring guys in 52 seconds. I hated that so much. it felt like
that really
such a
pissed me off.
yeah, because it's I talked about it earlier, but I didn't expand on it. It's such an injury risk. Like everyone's already dialed up. They've got the sweat running. Like you're trying to get warm. Most guys, if you talk to guys who play in the NBA, they might not even take a shot the first couple times down the court, right? Because, you need to get the blood moving. You need to get, and to just quickly just go out like that, that's how injuries happen, man. Like injuries happen in situations like this where a guy is forced to just go from straight cold to like intense. And I didn't like that at all. I would have preferred to see him on the bench. This is the second time this year where I've had this exact complaint. They brought Scottie Barnes back in to a game where it was too late to bring him back in, and they just did it because, they tried benching him once, and then they had to answer all these questions in the post game, and maybe they just want to avoid that. But it's like either make a basketball decision or make a politics decision, but don't do both. To me, it's like keeping this guy out for this long is you're making the statement, right? Like you are sort of making a statement. You chose to go with Gary over Scottie. That's fine. Whatever. Gary had it going. I don't think anyone minds. I don't know.
And I think it was like the point was where he started to see the game slip away because Pascal didn't seem that interested in running out to the corner to guard Kuzma. He didn't want to get physical towards the end of the game to get those fouls. He didn't want to foul out like he sometimes tends to do, which is fair, especially in a game that's that close that might go to overtime. Yeah, you think that you're the best player on the team. You don't want to get sent to the bench because of fouls. I get that 100%. But if that's the case, then why even take out Scottie when he was playing such incredible defense on corner coups, on like just making sure that was, I think it was in the third quarter that he just straight up locked him down. And Kuzma could not.
It's so interesting because Kuzma was the guy who came to his defense after the Doug Smith article on Twitter, and I'm pretty sure he's like second guessing himself now. He's like, "Bro, I'm not coming to your defense on social ever again." But yeah, like for real, he absolutely he made Kuzma look like Kuzma was on another planet from last game. It's obvious that the Raptors had a practice like yesterday at Georgetown University in Washington, and then they obviously did a film session yesterday, and I'm sure that Kyle Kuzma was a really big part of that film session. And so, clearly Scottie, as a smart basketball player would do, studied his tendencies a little bit more as one of his primary matchups. But yeah, I think Scottie was guarding like really well. I just think his offense tonight, my biggest gripe with him is the turnovers and the mid-range shots. I don't want him taking those mid-range shots, particularly because he's just so bad at them. And they're bad shots to begin with, but he's one of the worst in the league at them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's like the Scottie problem is just, it's three-pronged. Number one, it's, why sit him when he's playing so well? Number two, why bring him in so late? And number three, it's on him to be, safer with the ball. Because I could argue that, that fast break where he throws the ball behind the back, that was the moment this game flipped.
Rob, just to get your opinion on this, do you think that Pascal has it in him to take the back seat to Scottie in the future?
I'm asked this question, I feel like once every week. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I hate to say it maybe, but like I don't know Siakam. I don't know people in his life that closely. If people are feeding him, the lie that he's a top 5 guy, he needs to be supermax, whatever, I really don't think he cares that much. I gotta
Neither
be honest.
do I. I think that Pascal could do it. I think he could do it for the betterment of the team.
I don't even think it's about the betterment of the team. I just think he doesn't care. Like some guys, okay, this is gonna be very controversial and it's gonna piss a lot of people off, right? I gotta be honest, man. There are some guys who just don't care that much about basketball. Okay, basketball is a recreational activity that gets them paid, and they love it for what it does for their life, and I get that, right? And then there are some guys who are actually genuinely trying to catch Kobe and catch Magic, and they're trying to chase championships, and they give a shit about legacy and their place in the league, and you can tell who's who by how they talk about this stuff, by how they watch the game, how they watch other teams, how informed they are about the league that they're in. I mean, I gotta be honest, man, I know a lot of basketball players who don't watch basketball. It's just the truth, right?
Yeah.
There are some guys who didn't want to play basketball when they were 14 years old, they didn't want to play. Their parents were just like, yo, we're fucking poor. You're going to play basketball because you got a scholarship to Georgetown or Iowa or something. And they just played it, and it gave them something that was really great for their lives, which is money and status and shit, man. If you know, do you love playing basketball? What do you love? You love something particularly?
Acting. I love acting. That's what
You're
I
an
wanted
actor?
to do. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I'm a director. That's funny. Okay. So you're an actor. Okay, perfect. Is there something that you do that you don't love that much?
Yeah, my daytime job. That's
Which is,
it's a 9 to 5 working as an office manager. I don't love it. It's good.
I mean,
It
like a hobby.
pays the
I mean, like a
bills.
hobby that you do,
Oh,
like something you do for
like
fun, like video games or something like that.
like
Whatever.
photography. That's
Photography.
my
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody hired you and they started paying you like $1 million a year to do photography, but then they said, well, you know, we're going to hire you because you're this super talented photographer, but we're going to give you $1 million a year. It's going to take care of everything, you know, for you. But, you know, small caveat, it has to become your whole life. Like you have to talk about it, breathe it, love it. You know, you can't like professionally be an actor and do this. Like we need your time. So they take all your time, but like there's a difference between you and the photographer who loves it, which is the photographer who loves it thinks about it when he goes to sleep. That photographer dreams about, you know, other photographers' work. They're constantly working to get themselves better, not because there's a second promotion or a third promotion on the line or because they're trying to keep some sort of status as a top guy in the league. You know, look, basketball does a lot of fantastic things for a lot of people. I just don't think based on how he talks about the game, how he, you know, how he, I get that he's invested in his growth, in his excellence, in his next contract, but I don't feel like Pascal Siakam, like it's small things, man. Just the very fact that he did not know that the Sacramento Kings were good this year, that he doesn't know who like other teams' players are, stuff like this. You know what I mean? It's just telling me like you're not really in this.
Like you're at the film session, you're not watching the film session. You're taking part in all-star festivities because that's
It's like a
the status
personal
symbols.
it's a
And
personal game to him. He's like approaching basketball with the same mentality that Novak Djokovic approaches tennis, which is how do I get better? How do I perfect this? He's trying to chase like the best version of himself. And that's great. There are certain people like this and they have become Hall of Famers. Some guys, you know, some guys in the Hall of Fame, they didn't give a shit about basketball either. That sounds really crazy to say. How the hell can you be a Hall of Famer and not give a shit about basketball? It's because basketball is the vehicle to achieve status that they're looking for in life, in money, in success, in fame, whatever. But basketball is secondary to it. They could have done it in baseball, soccer. They probably would have been happier doing it in football. It doesn't really matter because like there are certain people like this where they are just chasing personal excellence. And basketball, photography, acting, porn, whatever is just a vehicle to achieve that. And some people they're like this, like they just want to be famous. It doesn't matter what the fuck they're famous in. And it doesn't mean that because they became famous as a cook that they wouldn't have been happier becoming famous as a fashion designer. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, they just wanted to get to the end game, right? The
Right.
end goal.
I'm not necessarily like I can't say this for sure, but this is a feeling I get with Siakam. So yeah. So given that is his mentality, yeah, I don't think if you pay him like a first option that he cares that you're going to ask him to be a second option. I don't think that he cares that much, to be honest. That's kind of where I'm at with him. Fred, that's different. I
Yeah.
think he cares about the stuff. I think he cares about the league. I think he cares about other guys. I think he cares about the All-Star, the Hall of Fame, all that shit. I think he's more invested in the legacy of it. I think he's more like a hoop head. I think he studies the game. I think he watches other players around the league and stuff. Like he watches AAU stuff. Like it's different. You know what I mean? It's just different. So yeah, that's just kind of where I'm at with Siakam. And yeah. Anyways, Jesse, thanks a lot for calling in, man. Appreciate it.
Have a great day, man.
Yeah, you too. All right. I mean, that might be controversial for some people, but it's just sort of how I feel about it. Okay, so as promised, I am going to I'm going to end this on a quick chat about what I think aggression, you know, this concept of aggression disruption, right? So within chess, right? you can have there's a psychological component to moves that you play. And what people don't realize is that within chess, there's all these pieces that can create a variation. And sometimes you're 8 moves in and you're literally playing a game that's never been played before. And this is a game that is as old as time itself. And because of all these variations, there's sometimes an opportunity to surprise an opponent. And every single move that you make on a chessboard, whether it be sacrificing a queen or sacrificing a pawn, it's called a gambit, or, like advancing pawns on the left side, it's supposed to be having a psychological impact on your opponent. So I guess what I'm saying is that the Raptors do a really good job, in my opinion, of one side of it, which is they are extremely aggressive, right? They are extremely aggressive with their defense. They are constantly disrupting and they throw a lot of shit at you as an offensive team, right? So I think in a weird way, the strategy is good. I disagree with the execution a lot. But I think the strategy to be aggressive, disruptive, these are good terms. You should want to be aggressive and disruptive in basketball. You should want to take the ball out of their best player's hands and make it difficult for that best player to go to their dominant hand. That's the whole concept of basketball. You want to force people to do things that they're uncomfortable doing. The problem is it's very difficult for me to ascertain or judge how good the theory is when it's never or very seldom, if ever, put into practice. Is it because the pieces don't fit? Right? Is it correct? Is it because the pieces don't fit? Is it because the pieces are not working together well enough? Is it because the pieces are disorganized? Right? Like chess has a symmetrical formation. What if, one game you just stacked both your rooks on the left side? Completely changes your entire opening, your entire everything. I think the Raptors have some sorting out to do. I think that it needs to be internal. I think it needs to be addressed internally. And I hope that they do it prior to the playoffs. It is complicated. It's complicated because the team on the court and the team that has been assembled and the team that is coached and the team that is playing on a night-to-night basis is talented enough, in theory, to push a team like Cleveland or Chicago or Atlanta or Washington and probably even clamp some of these teams for entire quarter stretches. I don't think saying the Raptors are underperforming is news to anybody. I just think that it is a massive, massive understatement because this is a team that had nearly 50 wins last year. If you really count out, Fred VanVleet just fell off a cliff last year, All-Star break. Pascal Siakam didn't even start the season last year, right? Relative to last season, even if you and I and all of us can agree that the East has gotten better, this is crazy that they are on pace for 40 wins or they're on pace for 39 wins. This is a massive, massive disruption and underachievement. Scottie Barnes is a year older. Pascal Siakam is better. Fred VanVleet, look, every time I hear teams, young teams talking about, or analysts talking about young teams, they say, well, there's too many guys who don't know who they are. And I think that's the case with the Raptors. They have too many guys who don't know who they are. Has to start with buy-in. I think Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Jakob Poeltl, I think all of these guys, they need to meet up. They have to have a discussion about who is going to lead and who is going to follow offensively. Just uncomplicate it. Just say, hey man, Scottie, we know you're the future, but right now we just need you to space. There's too many cooks. And the food is rotting. All right. There's too many cooks. There's too many guys who are supposed to go one-on-one. And yeah, in theory, that sounds like a hell of an offense. It sounds really dynamic, really unpredictable, really hard to stop. In reality, though, there's a reason why other teams don't do this. Because most teams, if not all teams, do not have the personnel to do this. Now, someone suggested the idea of Gary closing. Yeah, that's a great idea because he's a hell of a shot maker. Closing what, though? Closing a game, closing a quarter, closing when he has to take 2 dribbles and shoot, or closing when he has to take 24 seconds, milk the clock, and then take the final shot. Because I think the former, he's good at. The latter, not so much, right? What about Garrett? What about OG? People have talked about Mikal Bridges is better. Coach Mo was, texting me at halftime on Instagram saying, "Oh my God, like Mikal Bridges is better." And it's hard to argue that Mikal Bridges is not better. He put up 38 points against the Boston Celtics. He's good, but it's difficult to say that OG Anunoby, isn't better than what he's shown. Who is thriving here? Jakob is thriving. 10.2 box plus minus is the stuff of legends, man. It is ridiculous. But who else is thriving right now? The pieces don't fit. They need to fit. And I think, I don't know what I would do. If I was this team, I really don't know what I would do. But starting Scottie and Jakob in the same starting lineup, you need 3 better shooters. You need 3 really good shooters with those guys. So OG, if OG, Siakam, and and then Fred VanVleet has to be off the ball. The problem here is, in order for this to work, in my opinion, Fred VanVleet has to go off the ball. It feels like a broken record at this point, just saying it over and over, hoping that he hears it, hoping that he changes, hoping that he buys into it longer than a week. But Fred VanVleet being off the ball solves a lot of these problems. Scottie having the ball adds gravity to his place on the court. Jakob setting screens adds gravity because he's such a large target and he moves up the ball. The other 3 players being Siakam, Trent, or Siakam, OG, and Fred, that helps because now all 3 of those guys who aren't in that initial action can score. But now Siakam wants to be the ball handler. Well, now Scottie's out because Scottie and Jakob, as off-ball players, just get in each other's way. That to me is the final hurdle for this team to drop. And when people hear me say that Scottie needs to have the ball, people think of it as, oh well, he's trying to say that Scottie Barnes, this guy who's shooting 40% or 39.9% from the field for an entire month, for the second month, this season, that he's better than Siakam. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in order for an offense to work, all 5 players on the court, ideally, should be in a position to hurt the defense. That's how defenses work, right? That's why there are certain players in this league who can't shoot right now, and they're out of the league because they can't shoot. Russell Westbrook, if he were not a former MVP, if he just showed up tomorrow as, Russell James, no resume, this player right now would not be in the NBA. Okay? Because his package, it forces him to have the ball. It's kind of funny. Scottie's my favorite player. Russell Westbrook's one of my least favorite players of all time. Yet, I have to tell you, right now, they have a lot in common. A lot in common. Both great passers, both non-shooters right now, who the defense will often live with them taking jump shots. They need to have the ball. If they don't have the ball, they're going to kill you. Okay? Scottie needs to help himself basically by taking the shots that are available to him in rhythm quickly. Cannot dribble, pound, make the shot harder, and dribble into it. In fact, his catch and shoot percentages are way better than his, dribble into fadeaway type percentages. So I just want this offense to get simpler. Good luck to the Raptors against the Denver Nuggets. Thank you all for listening, for watching. Kawada from Mars, I believe you sent a super chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I'm going to figure out a new camera setup. So hopefully these lives are going to start looking really much better really soon. I'm working on 3 videos right now. One's on Scottie, one's on Jakob, and one is on, one was the one we recorded last 2 weeks, which was a week ago or 2 weeks ago, which was the 5 mistakes that the Raptors keep making. And I have a final thing. Today was one of the most productive days of my life, and just hang tight. Basically, this final note is for anyone who suffers from procrastination or suffers with procrastination. I don't know. It's a lot of people in my life have told me that they often do not get a lot of work done. Don't worry, this is not a sponsorship or promotion or anything. It's just a hack that I found worked for me today. And it's called, I think it's called habit anchoring. So effectively, there's a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. And honestly, if you haven't read it, seriously read it. It talks about priming your environment for your best, for your better habits, and making your less, So for instance, if you wanted to read more, right, then you would change the lighting to be better on your bookshelf. So do you know what I mean? Like hacking your own brain. So I noticed a couple of days ago that I was playing chess a lot, actually like crazy amounts. And sometimes like 4, 5, 6 hours were being sunk into it. I go into deep dives into pause, I'll call it addictions. Like maybe I'll have like an entire 3, 4 days where I'm just on Instagram a lot, right? And it's not productive, and I don't want to be doing it, but it's just whatever. Your brain just goes there. So because of how much I like chess, what I ended up doing was I ended up making a list, like a task list in the morning. And I said, every single thing that I cross is one chess game that I get to play. And I made sure that it was like a really significant thing. And so basically today was probably the most productive day I've had in months. Like the energy and focus with which I, approach my workouts, with which I approached my meal prep, cleaning the house, like doing some editing work, like all of these things ended up being so freaking on point. Um, what's it called? What's what called? The book? It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Anyways, it talks about effectively priming your life for better habits. So I would suggest that you like if anyone out there is struggling with productivity, this is something that worked for me a lot. It used to work for me a lot. I kind of went away from it for a bit, but man, I'm facing like a crazy deadline of shit that I want to do for Pensare basketball. I'm facing like an editing time, a deadline for a film that I just shot, and I'm facing a huge deadline for Pendance, which is a film festival that I run, which is going to be at the end of April. And so there's so much work to do, and sometimes it becomes very, very overwhelming. And then, when you're overwhelmed, maybe you just do nothing, like you just nap. So I just found this was a great way to get myself on track. I make my to-do list first thing in the morning, and every single time I knock one out, I get to play a round of chess. And so yeah, so I don't know what your positive habit is or what your addiction is, whether you're a smoker or drinker, I don't know what your addiction is, but turn something negative into a positive by doing this. I think it'll help you out. Anyways, thanks a lot, guys. Yes. Thank you for writing that out. Yes, it is Atomic Habits by James Clear. I think it's a great book. Really helped me out a couple of years ago. So yeah, I suggest it. All right. Take care, guys. Have a good one.